So with M-Files, it's impossible to modify file content or metadata or any object in M-Files without it being tracked. So when we check out a document, a new version of that document is created for you, but it's only when you check that document back in that everybody else can see that new version. Okay, so anytime a document's edited, a new version is created, but only the latest version is searchable. So when you're performing your searches, you're only going to see the most up-to-date information. Okay, you can see the older stuff, but you have to look at the history of that document to see it. You're not going to get filled up your search window with all this old stuff. You'll only see the latest. One thing with Word documents that you can do is you can actually perform comparisons of versions. So we'll look at an example of this in a minute and show you how this comparison works. If you want to see old versions, you can do so by right-clicking a document and selecting History. And you'll be brought to this window here where you can see a list of the different versions of the specific document you're looking at. Okay, so with this, you can select an older version and perform a rollback. Okay, so we'll look at an example of this. So in the example, this exercise we're going to do, we're going to edit one of the documents that we saved earlier. We'll look at the history and we'll compare the changes in metadata. We'll also do a version comparison of that document so we can see the changes in the content itself to help influence our decision on which version we want to roll back to. Okay, so like we said, we're going to open up M-Files. We're going to make some edits to a document that we saved earlier. So we'll do with the color sheet here. So if I select the color sheet and I look at the metadata of that color sheet, you can see right now that this color sheet is at version 5. So if I make an edit to the metadata, let's say the description here, I'll add a description saying this is now version 6. So again, I'm making a change to the metadata, so it's going to be tracked when I save the document. I can now see that the color sheet is at version 6. Okay, similarly, if I change the contents of the file, so if I double-click the document, you can see here, it's asking me if I want to check it out or open it in read-only. Since I want to make edits, I will check it out this time. Okay, this opens the document. So I can see it's already at version 7. I can see that it's at version 7, but nobody else in the organization can until I check the document back in. Okay, so maybe in here I'll say this is now version 7. So I save the document. I'll close it. It prompts me if I want to check it back in. I'll hit yes. And now in the metadata you can see it's version 7, and now everybody else can see that it's version 7, okay, because it's checked back in. So if I highlight the document I want to look at the history of, I can highlight and go to History, or I can right-click the document and go into the history here as well. So I can see all the different versions of the document, okay, the latest one being version 7. So if I look at version 5, let's say, I can see in the metadata that it just says for the description this is a test document. If I look at version 6, this is when we changed the metadata, you can see the description now shows this is now version 6, the change that we made. Okay, so that's how we can compare metadata between different versions. But if we want to compare the content itself, so let's open up the latest version of the document. You can open up any version by double-clicking it, but let's open up the latest. We're not making edits, we're just comparing versions. So we'll open it in read-only so other people can edit the content if they need to. So we'll hit open in read-only. This will open the document in Word. So to do the comparison, we have to go into the M-Files add-on at the top. And then there's the little compare option here. So if we select that, the window comes up in the history, the history window comes up where we can see all the different versions we have. So what we'll do is we'll compare to version 6. So I'll double click that version. and it puts the two versions side by side here, and then you have the big window which actually highlights and underlines all the different changes to that document. Okay, so this would be a way to help you figure out, the different changes made, so to influence your decision on what document to roll back to. So, we now know, okay, we want to roll back to version 6. So we'll close this document, and then we can then highlight the version we want to roll back to and hit rollback. So this warning comes up, and it basically says, are you sure you want to roll back? But it also says that it's going to create a newer version. So it's actually going to create an 8th version of that document so you can see a rollback was performed. Okay, so I'll hit yes, that's fine. And now the 8th version's created, and it's basically a replication, a copy of version 6. So they're the same, it's just so now you can see a rollback was performed.